So, BootTube, I was in the verge of making a video. I was 2 minutes in when my boyfriend decided to Facebook message me. Well, Facebook video call me anyway, and it totally interrupted the video. So, I'm making a new one. So, to explain what is happening, for episode 11 of Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, which I believe is titled Pablo and Jessica. I watched it when it premiered. I watched the replay. I took notes. So the next day, which was on the 12th, September, did I say February 11th? I don't even know, but I know that episode 11 premiered September 11, and September 12th, which was the next day, I had my notes ready. I was ready to go. I looked for my notes. It disappeared. And I thought maybe it might have been a fluke, so I started typing up a random note thing on anything you could write on, like notepads or like Microsoft or anything, and for some oddball reason, my laptop will not save them. At least, not for a full day. But anyway, so in order to get that fixed, I'm temporarily putting Fear the Walking Dead, well, at least my reaction rant videos on hold for a bit, mainly to figure out what the problem is, because I really want to, do this properly with my notes like I usually do, but can't do that if my notes don't stay. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna find a way to keep my notes. If it's not gonna be on my laptop, I'm gonna find a way to keep my notes somewhere. So temporarily, my reaction rants will be on hold. But luckily for me, though, on September 11, the episode that premiered for Fear the Walking Dead was episode 11, Pablo and Jessica. Episode 12, like writing right now, episode 12, which is titled Pillar of Salt, will premiere this Sunday, September 18. And from what I heard, season 2 is only going up to 15 episodes, from what I remember. So if that's the case, and episode 12 is already coming up, 13, 14, and 15, just 3 episodes, and episode 12 being 4, I'm just gonna be like 5 behind, and which is not a really bad thing. I've been behind before. I mean, I've been behind a whole season, so I'm not too butthurt about that. So right now, this video is like an explanation. At the same time, I wanted to run some theories with you guys. Theory 1, I wrote all my little theories out here. It's pretty funny. Theory 1, you guys well know that Strand, Madison, Elysian, and Ophelia, they were in a group. And then Chris and Travis were together, right? And then, Nick was literally by himself, right? So technically we have 3 groups. We have a group of 4, Strand, Madison, Elysian, and Ophelia. We got a group with a pair, which is, Travis and Chris. And then we got a solo, which is Nick. My question to you is, do you think at one point any of these 3 groups will ever get back together? Will Strand, Madison, Elysia, and Ophelia ever find their way back? Ever find Nick? Or will they ever find Travis or Chris? Vice versa, you know what I mean? Will any of these 3 groups ever regroup with each other? In my opinion, I think it might be a possibility, considering that I think that Strand, Madison, Elysia, and Ophelia's group might run into Nick at one point, especially considering Nick is now in a community, and the community has to venture out to get more supplies for themselves, right? So at one point, I think that Nick might go with these runners in this community, which is Colonia, and at one point might run into Strand's group, right? Because, like I said, they have to get supplies. And if you notice, recently, Nick has been going with some of the supply people to get supplies. He's been going with, God, I forgot her name already. Luciana. Remember, Nick has been going around with Luciana getting supplies at one point. So, I don't think they'll be able to rely on those gangster dudes anymore for supplies. So they're gonna, in my opinion, I think they're gonna go somewhere else, venture out more to get supplies, and at one point, Nick might run into his mom's group, or even run into Travis and Chris. Because remember, Travis and Chris right now, they were traveling with a group of 3 adolescent guys, right? Like I wouldn't say teenagers, they're like between teenager and young adolescent adults. But as you know, Travis and Chris technically are still with those three guys, and you'll never know if they're gonna stay with them. Chris wants to stay with them, but Travis, he doesn't. So, I don't know. Maybe Nick might run into Travis or Chris, or Nick might run into his mom's group. I don't know. But at one point, I think that at least two of these groups will find each other again somehow. So, I just want you guys' opinion. Do you think at one point any of these three groups will get together again? Hang on for a sec. I'm sorry, I'm watching a Step Up movie. You guys remember those Step Up movies? But anyway, in my honest opinion, I think at one point, one separate group will meet with another at one point in time. I don't know who. I don't know if it's going to be Madison's group meeting with Nick, or Madison's group meeting with Travis and Chris, or Nick meeting up with Travis and Chris and all that stuff, and vice versa. But I think at one point they will somehow find a way to each other. One group will at least find themselves drawn back to each other some way, because they're always moving, especially Travis and Chris. They have been moving. So far, we've seen that Strand, Madison, and Alicia and Ophelia were in one place, right? Which was the hotel. Nick's in Colonia, so he's in one place, but Travis and Chris were traveling. Right now, they are at that abandoned-looking farm place, but Lord knows if they're going to stay there. So they haven't really made a full commitment to one place from what we know. We don't know if Strand's group will stay there. We don't know if they're going to stay in the hotel. Lord knows what's going to happen to Colonia with Nick there, because, those gangsters that he upset and everything. So, who knows? And then plus Travis and Chris with those three adolescent guys. Travis doesn't like those guys. Chris does, but Travis doesn't. So, will Travis break away from his own son and end up going back to where Madison is? We don't know. But anyway, speaking of which, the Colonia community, the place where Nick's at, they have this little interesting logic that I don't think is going to turn out very well, because we've seen in other communities, like the governor's community in the original Walking Dead, stuff hit the fan there, especially with the governor being the leader of it all. The governor and his ideals pretty much broke apart his entire community. We also got Terminus, ew, those man-eating crazy people, ew. And Alexandria, despite, yes, they had no idea what the heck they were doing, but Rick's group were helping them. And it seemed like it was going to be somewhat okay. It did. It really did. For those who do not read the graphic novel / comics, you would think that everything was going to be okay. Something just went wrong. You know what I mean? And then, they have this idealism where if you're dying already, like, if you imagine like an old person, if you're dying already or you have a disease or something like that, once you're dying, you sacrifice yourselves to the infected. Already, that's a pretty morbid, twisted way of thinking if you think about it, and it cannot lead to a good thing later on, because, that kind of logic is already morbid. I understand it could be based on a religious thing, possibly. I mean, they seem very religious where they are, in Mexico, but it's very morbid to think that, especially in an apocalypse. I am just saying. But anyway, in my opinion, that whole dying sacrifice themselves to the dead, I think, well, it might, it's like a double-edged sword. It could be a good thing. You're putting all the dying with the dead already. But it's like, dude, it's just really morbid to me. I don't know what it is. And I think it's going to backfire somehow on that community, in my honest opinion. And I give them props, though, for having the hope that, giving the dying, sacrificing to themselves, and then once the dead are all gone, the world will be renewed and all that stuff. I give them props for having hope that the world will go back to the way it was, at least. But despite their beliefs, I think it's kind of morbid to be sacrificing still alive people. I know that they're dying. Some of them are like old and dying, or some of them have like diseases and stuff like that, and they're dying. But I think it's just morbid that they're still alive and they're sacrificing themselves to the infected. I think that's somewhat morbid. But anyway, my last thing I wanted to talk about was Alejandro. You remember Alejandro? The guy in the Colonia community? The one who's like pretty much the doctor there? I wanted to ask you guys, you could put in the comments section by all means, because I'm going to put this on obviously on my YouTube, but it's also going to be shared on my Twitter, and I want you guys to give me your honest opinion on YouTube and Twitter or anything else that I put this on. Do you really honestly truly believe that Alejandro is immune to this infected virus? Do you really think he's immune? In all honesty, do you honestly think that he was actually bitten by an infected? Hang on for a second. My bad. I was like flipping this around and I actually dropped it. I thought I broke something. I was like, oh my god, no! But anyway, back to what I was saying. Alejandro apparently claims that he was bitten by an infected, and he was waiting with Luciana for the end, and all of a sudden the end didn't come, which means Alejandro is claiming that not only was he bitten by an infected, he claims that he is immune to the infected bite. Now, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere I'm putting this, I need you guys to tell me what your opinion about Alejandro. Is he straight up telling the truth about being bitten by an infected? Or was that a different bite? He could have been bitten by like a dog or something. I mean, we saw that in, you guys know the Walking Dead games, seasons 1 and 2 from Telltale. I believe season 3 is coming out soon. You remember season 2, Clementine, she got bit by a dog that she met along the way. Remember, she befriended a dog, but then the dog got hungry and attacked her and like bit her in the arm, right? And she had this gnarly looking bite from the dog. And she ended up being found by these 2 guys that were part of a bigger group. And they all thought that, there's no way she got bitten by a dog. We didn't see a dog. She probably got bitten by a walker, right? For the longest time, well, not longest time, but they thought she was, bit by the dead. And they thought, she was just lying about being bitten by a dog. So, for all we know, Alejandro could have been bitten by anything. Like, we saw some stray dogs. We've seen stray dogs. I mean, remember Nick? When he was all getting dehydrated and he's sitting on top of a van being surrounded and all that stuff? We saw 2 dogs that nearly tried to kill him. They even bit his leg and everything. For all we know, there could have been more stray dogs out there, and 1 or 2 could have bitten Alejandro, right? So, it could be a dog bite, or it could actually be an infected bite, and he could actually be immune. But in my opinion, I think that's too good to be true. In all honesty, in my honest opinion, I think that is not an infected bite that bit Alejandro. I think that he is making that up to get Nick to stay in the community. I don't know how, but I honestly think there's something really deeply going on in Colonia, the community Colonia, with Luciana and Alejandro. And I think they're using Alejandro's bite mark as a ploy to get people to stay with them and, get into their, in a way, cult. You know what I mean? And so, I wouldn't say cult, their group. You know what I mean? And I'm really skeptic that Alejandro is immune. That's my honest opinion. I think I'm kind of skeptic about the fact that, he got bitten by an infected and he's immune. Because throughout the first 6 seasons of the original Walking Dead, the predecessor, we've never seen anyone get bitten and not turn into a walker, infected, or just dead in general. We have never seen that before. The people we've seen get bitten immediately die in turn, And even with the Telltale games, we've seen it. We've seen it in every Walking Dead game, whether it's Telltale or someone else. We've seen it in the first 6 seasons of The Walking Dead. Everyone that's been bitten has never shown any signs of being immune. That's why, in my honest opinion, from what I've seen, from the first 6 seasons of the predecessor Walking Dead, from any Walking Dead game, even in the Walking Dead graphic novel / comics, I've never seen that before. So, I, in my opinion, am very skeptic to believe that Alejandro is not immune. I don't really think that he got bit by an infected. But hey, who knows? Who knows? But anyway, give me your comments, okay? Tell me if you think Alejandro's telling the truth about his bite mark being from an infected, and do you think he is really immune? And could he be an actual cure if he's immune? But anyway, this is my little rant. Not really rant, but these are my opinions, and I hope you guys please comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I love you. Goodbye, BooTube.